Martin Osterdahl is stepping down as the EBU Executive Supervisor for Eurovision. We also have news from the first head of delegations meeting regarding the review into the Televote system. Spain has a new head of delegation and some big changes to Benidorm Fest. And we'll also get an update on all the countries who've committed to next year's Eurovision. It is Eurovision News 2026. Let's geeky. Hi, my name is Tom. I'm an Irish Eurovision analyst, and you can find all of this stuff on my Eurovision channel. Before we start, quick plug. I've started a new series on my Patreon where I'm reviewing old Eurovisions. I just did Eurovision 1982. My next one's going to be either Eurovision 61 or 2000. I haven't decided. The full versions are going up on my Patreon. I will eventually post them on YouTube, but they're going to be shorter and there's copyright. Even on Eurovision 1982, 70% of the songs had copyright, so I need to chop that out and change the audio, etc., make it shorter. Also, if you have post-Eurovision depression right now, I'm currently doing my final review series where I look at all of the final performances from the 2025 alumni. Go check that out. I've already done 5 or 6 episodes. So make sure that you're subscribed so that you can battle your post-Eurovision depression. I'm going to get you through the summer. We're not too far away. Monte Song might be coming up in November. Fingers crossed. So first of all, the main story, which is that Martin Osterdahl is stepping down as the executive supervisor of the Eurovision Song Contest this summer. Now, if you saw my last news episode, this won't come as too much of a surprise. So we had a clue that Martin was possibly going to leave. And also the fact that it was 5 years. His 5-year tenureship is up. Let's go through the release. The European Broadcasting Union has announced Martin Osterdahl will be stepping down from his role as executive supervisor of the Eurovision and also Junior Eurovision. Remember, he does that as well. Following 5 years of overseeing and transforming the world's largest music event. This is basically just saying he got us through some hard times. This is saying he revolutionized and brought us into a digital era. Also interesting here, prior to his appointment as ESC Executive Supervisor, Martin was twice the executive producer of the Eurovision Song Contest when they hosted in 2012 and 2016. In case you didn't know, Martin is Swedish. So I wonder, is that a kind of unwritten prerequisite for them to find his successor? Do they have to have been a producer on a recent show? I don't think that's a prerequisite for them, but I think that they're more comfortable working with someone who they know how they work. We'll talk about later who could be a successor, but if that is the case, it's more likely it's going to be from a country who's hosted recently. Okay, there's a quote from Martin. It's just a normal "thank you, everything is great" type comment. He's deeply grateful to the entire ESC community. I don't think he likes the ESC community, but it's nice of him to pretend that he does. And then there's just a thank you here from Martin Green. Martin Green, who is the ESC director, is going to be the executive supervisor on an interim basis now. This brings up the topic of who is going to take over Martin's job. So I actually posted on my Twitter who could be his successor, and some of the names I threw out: Twan van der Nieuwenhuizen, sorry Dutch people, who was the producer in 21, maybe 22? I can't remember, definitely 21 in Rotterdam. Alexandra Redmiel, who hasn't been a producer recently, but is involved in Junior Eurovision, Adult Eurovision. So she spends a lot of time with them and knows the system of both. Keep in mind the executive supervisor needs to work on Junior Eurovision as well. And then Martin Green, which is wrong because Martin Green is the director. So he's above Martin Osterdahl. So moving down into that position would be a demotion. So it doesn't really make sense for him to do that. And then also Sitsabaka was a name that I used to see thrown around a lot. Because last summer, remember, a lot of people were guessing that Martin might resign after all the boos, etc. So I was doing a little bit of a study who could take over, and people were mentioning Sitsabaka, who again was a producer in Rotterdam. I haven't heard anyone talk about him recently or heard about him being involved. Maybe he is involved behind the scenes. But yeah, I don't think they're going to pick another Swede, because Christer Bjorkman could be a potential person. But having back-to-back Swedes, I just don't think looks good. We have had a female one before. If we look at the list of people that we've had, we had Martin for 5, then we had Jan-Ola Sand for 10. So I presume he had 2 5-year contracts with Svante Stalkelius, who was also Swedish, for 7. So Jan-Ola was from Norway. Then we had Sarah Yuen for 1 contest. And then Christine Marshall Ortiz, I remember her. Where was she from? Yes, I remember her with her iconic glasses. Where was she from though? She's from France. Maybe it's time for another female executive supervisor, someone not from France or Sweden or Norway. You know, Netherlands kind of makes sense to me. It'd also be kind of a way to make it up to the Netherlands for what happened in 2024. So yeah, I don't know if Twan would maybe be considered. Let's look at some of the replies. Carla Bugalo, who I believe is a Portuguese on the reference board right now. So they could, and she would have been one of the producers in 2018. In any case, what do I think about all this? The tweet I posted had a crazy amount of quote retweets, and pretty much all of them were negative about Martin. So yeah, like this shows that there's a real relationship problem between the EBU and some Eurovision fans. Twitter doesn't represent all Eurovision fans. My opinion on it personally is I've always thought of Martin O'Sal more of like a spokesperson. I don't actually think he has that much power. I think he's got power over like some production elements of the show, like can that person have pyro and can they be lifted up in the air or not? But generally, like, you think Martin Green is above him, and there's other layers above as well, like the EBU Deputy Director General is, I think his name is Philippe de Tender. Jean-Philippe de Tender. So he is the Deputy Director General of the EBU, who's a layer above them. And keep in mind as well that the Eurovision is just one part of the EBU. It's not like the only thing they do. They've got sports, they've got news, they got everything TV. So I get why lots of people are pissed off at Martin O'Sal. I've always mostly thought of him as just a spokesperson who has to deliver the message of decisions that have been made by people who are above him. Keep in mind as well, within the Eurovision biosphere, you have the big five who've got much more power than Martin. Like if the UK or Germany said that they're withdrawing, that trumps Martin. He's not more powerful than them. Allegedly, it's been rumored that Germany were the ones who blocked Israel being banned in 2024. They threatened to withdraw. And, you know, some people in the community saying, well, let Germany withdraw. But then you've got to keep in mind, the EBU is not just about Eurovision. There's also the sporting department. So if you piss off Germany in Eurovision, well, then the sporting department are going to say, why the hell are you pissing off our biggest market in news and football and all different sports and all other things? So I think sometimes in the Eurovision community, we can be a little bit Eurovision centric, not realizing the EBU is actually like, there's way more departments and more layers. And I actually think that Martin is kind of pretty far down on one branch of a gigantic tree. Also, we need to wait and see what his replacement's going to be like. Are they going to be any different? Does it matter? Because if the person doesn't have that much power in terms of controlling the bigger things, well, then it's not really going to change that much. Yeah, but like as a person, I thought he was fine. I thought he was kind of very stoic, a little bit robotic. I don't think he handled a lot of the PR and communication stuff well. Like the stuff with Netherlands last year was so badly managed, the PR, and could have been done so much better. And I do think that's something that was within his control. And I think often the people who make the decisions do so silently and we have no idea who they are. And then Martin is the person who has to come in front and say it. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who they pick. I imagine it's going to be a job posted somewhere. Maybe some of us can apply for it. But presumably, based on previous patterns, it's going to be a Western European producer from a previous show. I'm not saying that it's right that they're all Western European. I'm just saying that's the pattern. Okay, our next story is about the EBU reference group, which, in case you don't know, is a group of head of delegations who kind of meet and decide some of the structural stuff that happens within Eurovision. And there's going to be a new head of that, which is Ana Maria Bordas, who was the former head of delegation for Spain, who, in case you don't know, has been their head of delegation on and off since 2017, and she's never been outside the bottom six. The two times that Spain were outside the bottom six, which was Chanel coming third, and Blanca Paloma coming 17th. That was a different head of delegation, Eva Mora, who for some reason was ousted despite getting Spain's two best results in the last 10 years. And then Ana Maria Bordas came back, straight back into the bottom six consistently. So she's got a very weak record as head of delegation for Spain, but that doesn't mean that she's not good at delegating other things. So she is now the head of the reference group for the Eurovision Song Contest. I believe that they meet 4 or 5 times a year, but this is big news because this is more influence for Spain in the contest. So some of the things that the reference group does is approving the development and future format of Eurovision. So format coming in things like, do we have jury in semi-finals or not? Securing financial support for the competition. So I think that's going to come into sponsors. Are Moroccan Oil going to get their sponsorship renewed or not? I believe it expires this year. So are they going to renew it? In case you don't know, Moroccan Oil is an Israeli company. Some people's thinking that that's the reason why Israel were not removed in 2024. I don't think Moroccan Oil have that much power. Like we just talked about all those power trees. I think Moroccan Oil is really low. Modernizing the Eurovision brand and raising its global profile. So that's things like coming up with the rest of the world vote, trying to get a larger market, and supervising the yearly preparations of the host broadcaster. So basically making sure that ORF, which is going to be the broadcaster for Austria next year, are doing their job correctly and everything's running well. And just generally talking about everything that's going on in Eurovision. Now, so that's the EBU reference group, but there's also head of delegations meetings where all of the heads of delegations meet together. And that meeting happened earlier, and we've got some details emerging from that from NRK, the Norwegian broadcaster, saying that a lot of the broadcasters have brought up concerns about televoting in Eurovision 2025. Tuesday's meeting of the Broadcasting Council, NRK's delegation leader Mads Torklepp, who took over from Stig Carlson, was clear that the current regulations must be changed. So this article is from vg.no. It was the imbalance between popular votes and jury votes in Israel's case, as well as the large state campaign from Israel before this year's final, that formed the basis for most of the 97 submissions that have been received by the Broadcasting Council on the matter. So 97 complaints, and most of them are complaining about Israel manipulating the vote. Now, keep in mind what Israel did is technically within the rules. It definitely pushes the boundaries of good taste and integrity, but it's within the rules. So it sounds like these head of delegations are saying, well, you need to more clearly define the rules. Obviously, you can say that Israel's bringing the contest into disrepute, but then if people are using technicalities to get out of that or pushing the boundaries, then you need to be more specific. Don't do this, don't do that. It's a shame that you have to do that, but it appears that that's the case. He added that in the EBU's view, it is not a violation of the regulations for state authorities, for example, as in Israel's case, to support their national participants. But yes, they need a rule about this because otherwise it sets the precedence that everybody has to do this if they want to be remotely competitive in the televote. Everyone needs to get their president involved. Everyone needs to pay for ads. Everyone needs to fill their Instagram pages with ads saying vote 20 times. So I think they need to nip this in the bud. You can't blame other delegations for thinking, oh, well, we have to do this as well. Otherwise, we've got no chance in the televote whatsoever. This year, like last year, Israel ran extensive campaigns for its participant on YouTube and social media, as well as in Times Square in New York. Again, not against the rules, but against the spirit of the contest. These ads were not even advertising like stream this song. It's just vote 20 times. There's no like listen to her music or support her. Vote 20 times. That's just it. It's just pure strategic gaming of the system. We then, NRK, believe that this is unfortunate and think it is important to have regulations that keep the competition apolitical, said Torklepp. So it seems that Norway are really spearheading this. We will follow up on this at future meetings and put pressure on the matter, he said. We can see that this can open up coordinated and strategic voting, said NRK's delegation leader, who said that he has also requested access to the figures for the Norwegian votes during this year's Eurovision. The EBU denied him access, explaining that by publishing the figures, there was a risk that someone might analyze their way to manipulate the system. This is what I brought up in my video that I did about what I would do if I could see those figures and why they aren't going to be released. Israel's manipulation of the votes is not the only time it's been done. We have other people, even Cyprus this year, allegedly, it looks like they were also manipulating votes as well. If you publicize this information, it's just going to start off a bunch of other fires as well. So I get why they're not willing to release it publicly, but I think they can still give them like a private viewing or at least make sure that they're doing a thorough review. But I understand why they can't publish them because you will definitely have people looking through that list going, okay, Portugal, Slovenia, Albania, Czechia. These are the countries that have the lowest amount of votes. These are the ones we're going to target with SIM card campaigns. So with Ana Maria Bordas moving to the head of the EBU reference group, we need a new head of delegation for Spain. And we've got a guy in it, Cesar Vallejo, is going to be representing. I like his hair, I like his glasses as well, and his mustache. And he's got, I like his jacket, which says Kunst means art. Art is, or capital, does that mean like very important? Cesar has worked at RTV for 20 years, and he's currently the deputy director of programming for RTVE Play. He's won lots of awards, and he's been involved in the artistic development of Benidorm Fest since its first edition. We have learned a lot. It's time to convert all that experience into tangible goals and impactful entries. Basically, I think it means getting out of the bottom 6. So there's been tons of new developments about Benidorm Fest. First of all, we have a new artistic director, which is going to be Sergio Jaén, who, as you know, is one of the up-and-coming artistic directors who just won with Austria this year. So no surprise, he is Spanish, that the Spanish team have backed him. He's going to be creative director for Benidorm Fest this year. So that's super, super exciting. I wonder, does this mean that he's not going to be working on UMK? I think he's actually bringing a couple of the UMK team to work with him in Benidorm Fest. UMK is later this year, I believe, because of the Winter Olympics, I think somebody told me. So maybe he can work both. Benidorm Fest is happening on the 10th, 12th and 14th of February. The final is going to be on Valentine's Day. I think we know what single Eurofans are going to be spending Valentine's Day doing next year, myself included. And then there's 2 weeks until UMK, so maybe he'll try and do both. I'm not sure. There's also been a couple of other changes. So the winner of Benidorm Fest, the artist is going to get €100,000 and the songwriter is going to get €50,000. So this is a new prize pot they brought in, possibly to try and attract a better artist. They've also changed the split of the votes. So last year we had 50% televote, 50% jury. A jury who was very much influenced by the fans in the arena because they had to sit opposite them. Now we're getting a 50% jury. I think half of them are going to be Spanish and half of them are international. We'll get 25% demoscopic jury and 25% public vote. Now, this is the first time they've used this configuration. The original system for the first couple of editions, I believe, was 1/3 public, 1/3 demoscopic jury, 1/3 jury. Now we've got half jury. So I really welcome these changes. My big issue with Spain is there is this very small, concentrated, hyper passionate, but also very aggressive fan base within the Spanish community. And then there's lots of extremely normal Spanish fans. But this hyper aggressive minority are very forceful about getting their song picked. This year was Melody. Last year was Nebulosa. It was not Chanel in 2022. And when their favorite wasn't picked in 2022, they abused Chanel so much that she left social media. She had to close down her social media platforms because she wasn't the chosen one in 2022, even though she went on to success. This hardcore minority fan group don't have a great record. When they get what they want, those songs come bottom 6. So I think the power of this group needs to be reduced. They don't own Spain. They don't own the Spanish national final. They're not funding the entire competition. They are definitely super passionate, and I appreciate that passion, but they're also really aggressive. I get so much abuse from this group, so I have no problem calling them out. I get so many abusive messages every single year if I don't. Even Melody, like, I said a lot of positive things about her, but I did say the song was dated, and I feel justified in saying that because it came third last. The Spanish delegation needs to reduce the power of this group, definitely, because I feel like Spain's had songs that could have competed for the top 10. I think J.K. Cabello would have totally stood out in the Eurovision final this year. In the end, we only had one male dance pop this year, which was Kyle Alessandro, and actually did pretty well considering he was first in the running order, coming 18th, but getting a pretty decent televote. I think J.K. Cabello wouldn't have been bottom 6, that's for sure. I'm not saying he would have been top 10, but he would have done better than Melody did. And then the year before that, St. Pedro, I think, definitely could have been top 10. I think his jury score would have been super, super high. I think Spain have got competitive entries, but they're not choosing them. So they need to reduce the power of this group, put the jury somewhere private so they don't have to sit opposite all of these incredibly passionate, but also very aggressive, and they can be super abusive minority of fans. Keep in mind, the majority of Spanish fans are very, very normal. They talk to me on a daily basis in the comments. So yeah, I really welcome these changes. I think this is so much good news for Spain. I feel super, super optimistic that they can make some really, really good progress. At this point in time, if you made me guess, are they coming bottom 6 again? No, I don't think so. New head of delegation, new prize pot for Benidorm Fest. Also, they're going to allow up to 20 songs in the show. So previously we've had 16, 8 and 1 semi in another. We might hit 10 and 10. Bringing Sergio Jaén in as the artistic director, which is going to mean that we're going to get some cool, edgy staging as well. I'm really optimistic for Spain next year. Okay, so where are we going next year? The host city is going to be chosen by August 8th. So we're not going to have to wait too long to find out. Only around 5-6 weeks left. Cities have up until July 4th to submit their bid. And at this point in time, we have bids from Innsbruck, Vienna, and Wels and Linz. Graz just pulled out yesterday. So it seems like it's going to be those 3. So many people I've spoken to, particularly Austrians, have told me it's going to be Vienna. In terms of the infrastructure and all that, they've just got the best one by far. And it just doesn't seem like there's anyone else who's competitive. Plus, Vienna's interested. Often we come and the capital city is not interested. Amsterdam weren't interested. They're already too busy. Stockholm wasn't able in 2024 because the arena was being rebuilt. Vienna is available and they want to do it. So could this be the end of the non-capital city hosting? I'm not going to say curse. It's not a curse. It's a pattern. We haven't had a capital city host since Lisbon in 2018. So this would be the first time in quite a long time. I think we're going Vienna. All the information I've been told so far, it's going to be Vienna. The Vienna City Council has already passed a motion supporting the hosting. Vienna stands for quality, efficiency, and international hospitality. It would be wasted love if Vienna weren't the host city of the 70th Eurovision Song Contest. We love a terrible pun on this channel. Keep in mind, 70th edition. Austria also hosted the 60th edition. So is that the thing? They're going to host 70, 80, 90, 100? Yeah, I'm more than happy to go to Vienna. I've been there before. It's a very beautiful city. But I didn't go to Eurovision 2015. My first one was 2016 in Stockholm. Now, one thing that RRF have already decided about is who's going to be on the core team. The executive producer is going to be Michael Krohn. Show producer is going to be Stefan Zechner, who is the head of delegation for Austria since 2011 and produced the show in 2015. I don't know any of these people. It just looks like there's a lot of people who were either in the Australian delegation who worked on the last show. Final news about Austria is ORF are considering having a national selection. And I don't know if they actually said those words. I think they more said the selection of a representative for 2026 will not be a secret decision, which doesn't necessarily mean national final. It might just be that they're going to be like, hey, we're doing an internal selection and these are the 3 people left. Or maybe they'll do what Finland did recently with Sarah Alto and Darude, where they'll pick someone and then maybe say, you can pick the song. But yeah, maybe Austria wants to start national final. I don't think that's a good idea. I think they've been doing amazing with an internal selection. So I think that they should stick with that, unless this is just a once-off. I don't want them doing a once-off, we're hosting, you can pick the song, because then they can fill up their TV calendar with that. But generally, internal selections have worked so well for Austria. It allows them to pick something risky like Who the Hell is Edgar, Halo, Wasted Love. A lot of these kind of edgy, out there, but very popular entries. Okay, let's stay with more national final news and let's go to Greece. And apparently there might be semi-finals for Greece's national final, Ethnikos Telikos, next year. Greece obviously just coming off a wonderful 6th place finish in Eurovision. Really, really, really amazing. First of all, they're opening up their submission window earlier, which is always a good thing. Give that assurance to songwriters that the national final is going to be happening, gives them more time to write their songs, produce everything, make changes, and find the right singer for that. The more time you give, the better it is for artists and songwriters, definitely. So instead of one show, the selection could potentially consist of 2 semi-finals and a final, all of which would be held over a Eurovision week. So I think they're looking at the Benidorm Fest model. So maybe going Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Hopefully they put it in a different week if they do that. It's also reported that Fokis Evangelinos, who was part of the Dream Team with Dimitrios Kontopoulos and Philip Korkorov, will remain as artistic director for the selection, and that Klavdia, this year's Greek representative, will also play a role in the process. So maybe she'll help choose the songs or she'll be a mentor. Her vocals in Eurovision were unbelievable. I saw her perform maybe 8 or 9 times and every single time was freaking perfect, which was one of the most impressive vocals of the entire year. That's exciting for Greece. I thought Ethnikos Telikos was really, really good start. I thought there were definitely things that could change. That 1 hour intro was effing painful. Get rid of that. So much nonsense before we got the first song, which drove me crazy. So start quicker. I think they'll probably base it on how many submissions they get. If they get enough good songs, they'll probably do that. If they don't get that many good songs, they'll probably just keep it as a final. Okay, we've got some exciting news from Ireland, and that is that there's going to be a Irish songwriting camp. I'm not sure if it's the first one ever, but it's the first one I've ever heard of, called Dublin Songfest. This is organized by the Woods, who I believe has done songwriting camps in Norway before. This is happening on the 8th of September. It's an exclusive opportunity to write songs with Eurovision with a special focus on the Irish national selection. Michael Keeley, who is our head of delegation, will be joining the camp to offer insights and guidance throughout the process. So this is happening on 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. So I think it's a 4-day thing in Temple Bar, which is like kind of a touristy area in Ireland. I think there's a couple of studios there. During the camp, we will work with groups of 3 to 4 writing songs for specific leads or artists present at the group. Each day we will write new songs with new groups, and at the end of the writing sessions, we will listen to all the songs we've made during that day. So really, really interesting. I'm assuming that RTE will get first refusal in the same way that the Norwegian songwriting camp NRK gets first refusal. It's participation fee, €350. So if you're a songwriter and you live in Ireland, if I was here, I would actually go to that just to like sit there and watch. I don't know if you have to have specific requirements to go into it or credentials, but I would just go there and be like, hey, I can tell you if songs are good for Eurovision or not. And they've also provided a link saying, check out the songs that made it to MGP from the Woods, which is this songwriting camp from the last 6 years. And we can see Like a Party, which obviously represented Ireland, Give That Wolf a Banana, which was top 10, wasn't it? Yeah, it was 10th. Ramtai from Citizieni, which was in Supernova this year. Geronimo, which was Kyle Alessandro's song when he was in a boy band. Parasite, which is MGP this year. Hot as Hell in Paradise. Sulale, that was this year's MGP. Ride 0.5. Wasn't that Luxembourg? Breaking the Cycle. Okay, we're getting a little bit more obscure here. That looks like a Lithuanian song. One Last Time, definitely. Okay, that's Luxembourg again. My AI. Waste, that's Norway last year. Freya, oh my god, amazing song. That super flopped live, but it was one of my most played radio edits. Hammer of Thor, Death of Us, Queen Bee. So loads and loads of songs that made it into MGP. So really, really, really exciting. I think this is a new initiative. I like this. This is something new and fresh for Ireland. Get more quality songs and start pairing up artists as well. I think that's one of the issues that we're having in Ireland is we haven't got strong enough artists, or they need more practice, or they just need more experience, because too many of them are getting into the Late Late Show and just flopping. We don't have 6 options. We've got 3 options because half of them flopped. This is really important. We need stronger artists who are a bit more experienced. So I'm really excited about this. Let's get an update on who is confirmed for Eurovision so far. We can see we currently have 14 countries confirmed: Albania, Austria, Denmark, Finland, Germany, Greece, Luxembourg, Malta, Netherlands, Norway, Serbia, Spain, Switzerland, and the UK. One curious thing is that Israel have usually confirmed by now, and they haven't confirmed this year. So I wonder if that's something that's going to be brought up at that reference group meeting, which is happening next week with Anna Maria Bordas as the head. That's their first meeting. I wonder if they're going to discuss that, because yeah, usually Israel's confirmed by now. And quickly, let's also check in on Junior Eurovision. We have 14 countries committed for Junior Eurovision. Albania, which is going to be happening in Tbilisi, Georgia this year. Albania, Croatia returning to the contest for the first time in a long time. Georgia, Ireland, Italy, Malta, Montenegro, Netherlands, North Macedonia, who, as we know, are in Junior Eurovision, but not in out Eurovision. That seems to be their strategy they're going for. Poland, Portugal, San Marino, Spain, and Ukraine. And the big one there is Montenegro. This is their first return to the contest since, I think, 2012. I'm hoping they're not doing the same thing as North Macedonia, where they're only in Junior Eurovision and not out Eurovision, because it's cheaper. But hopefully it's that they're in both. Hopefully Montenegro is just on this huge Eurovision buzz, and they're like, let's be in Junior Eurovision and Eurovision to get more experience and learn the ropes and get our delegation more experience. So I'm hoping it's that one and not the North Macedonia route. But great to have Montenegro back. Germany's out, UK is out. So I wonder, could Wales or Scotland come in? I want to see Scotland. Why are Scotland not sending a song in Scottish Gaelic? In case you don't know, Irish Gaelic and Scottish Gaelic are very similar. I can actually understand Scottish Gaelic when I read it. So why is that not happening? Scottish people, get on to Scotland TV and tell them to, Alban TV or something. Get them to submit a song. But yeah, Junior Eurovision this year is happening on the 13th of December. I know many people aren't interested in that. I'm probably not going to be covering it that much on this channel this year. It's hard to critique the Junior Eurovision songs because they're children. You don't want to do anything critical. And also the views are terrible. Okay, and final story is about Slovakia. Apparently STVR are still thinking about coming back, the Slovakian broadcaster, which I'm really surprised about. There was lots of buzz about Slovakia potentially coming back because they got lots of people in their board of STVR. But then Robert Fico was elected in Slovakia, and then everyone seemed to say, okay, well, it's not going to happen anymore. So I'm surprised that this is even being discussed. But apparently the Slovak broadcaster is saying at this point in time, the costs are disproportionately high in relation to revenues or public perception, which is not great. But then they're also saying that they could examine the potential for collaborating with a private sponsor. So basically, we just need to find a rich Eurovision fan billionaire from Slovakia to fund their entry, kind of like Bulgaria used to do. A lot of Bulgaria's entries were financed by millionaires, billionaires, or private companies. I think Victoria had a private sponsorship with a credit card or something. I can't remember who it was. Maybe Adonis could come back for Slovakia. That would be awesome. Keep in mind that Valentina Moneta only qualified on her 3rd attempt. So if you don't succeed the first time, try again. Okay, so that's all of the Eurovision news for today. What did you think? Leave me a comment in the comment section down below. Please make sure that you're subscribed down below so that you see those new series when they pop up on the channel to get you through your post-Eurovision depression summer. Thank you to those who've been supporting me on PayPal and Buy Me Coffee. If you want to support the channel, leave a QR code over here and a link in the description. And of course, thank you to all my wonderful patrons for patronizing me from all around the world. On my Patreon, you can see those early Eurovisions. You can do some Eurovision chat, loads of fun Eurovision stuff. Go check it out. But of course, thank you so much just for being here. I'm seeing another Eurovision analysis video very soon. Goodbye.